Leave your comments on the Ask Reddit sub, and I'll read your answers on the next episode of LWIAR 2. Imagine having a reverse Yelp where we rate customers on their attitudes, manners, and how well they tip. What review would you leave? Apparently the basic front desk bell is too complicated of a mechanism to operate for this person. Also demanded that I reduce her rate because we ran out of complimentary coffee and she couldn't wait the 2 minutes it would take me to make a new pot. Insulted the housekeepers. 2. 0 stars. Edit. Wow, my first silver. Thank you, kind stranger. This is the exact type of person who will also leave a ranting Yelp review on the lack of coffee and poor housekeeping. I saw a review for a hotel once where the general manager responded to a complaint of the pool being closed with, "As we told you upon check-in, the pool is closed because it's an outdoor pool in Cape Cod in February." I always feel rude ringing the front desk bell. Don't know why, because they have it there for a reason. True. I think if it was a button that, say, lit up a light for them, instead of an awfully sounding bell, I would feel better pushing it. The bell itself sounds irritated and condescending. Nice, pleasant man. Always orders the same sandwich every time. Making preparing for him simple despite the complicated sandwich. Tips well. Never talks longer it takes to complete his order. Also, the only male regular over 50 that doesn't leer at my underage co-worker. 5 stars. Dude, that's me. My local Subway knows me and my order. I remember once I went to the post office next door first, and as I was walking into Subway, the dude inside was coming out to come find me because he had started to make my order. Love that place. Staff are great and happy. Same with the Hungry Jacks over the road. I come through the drive-thru on my pink motorcycle and the manager gives me that point of, "I know what you want," and I get 2 barbecue cheeseburgers and a large fries straight away. Let him a good review on the corporate page. Frickin' love my retail work regulars. Love this. On the other hand, came to dinner with his 14-year-old niece and their family. Was leery and flirtatious the whole meal. When I brought their check, he asked, in front of their mixed-age party of 7, "Can you do 3 ways? But I'm sure you get that all the time." 2/5. Because someone else at the table called him a pig and tipped me 25%. Edit. I don't know if it makes it better or worse, but I work in casual fine dining. The bills are between $100 to $300. Tipping 25% is not normal. That's why I was grateful. Lots of people tip more generously as steps of service and formality increase. 1. Ick. That sucks that you deal with that. 2. Do you actually get asked it a lot? That's really fricked up. I've been asked worse. It depends what you mean by a lot. When I'm serving tables, yes, a lot. When I'm bartending, almost never. Women servers don't get respect. Bartenders do. I noticed that with a co-worker a few years ago. She would serve tables some nights and bartend others. Serving nights. All sorts of crass comments and inappropriate behavior. Bartending nights. I can recall maybe one time I witnessed a guy creep on her. She walked into the store and complained that outside smelled of gasoline. I told her we would address that issue as soon as an employee became available to do so. Customer is apparently unaware they are pumping gas at a gas station when complaining about the scent of gas. Perhaps she could consider not huffing it while filling her tank. Edit. Holy schnickies, my most upvoted comment ever is about someone sniffing gasoline. Tears of joy. I worked at a gas station for like 7 years through high school and college, and oh my god, why are people like this LMFAO? Then on the flip side you have people out there huffing it like there's no tomorrow and come in and say, "I love the smell of gasoline." As someone who legitimately does love the smell, I wish I could tell you why I do, lol. I don't hate it, but LMAO, there were people that walked in the door. I said, "Hello," and the only thing they said was, "I love the smell of gas," and paid and walked out. Tears of joy. She lied about her hair history. Wanted white blonde in one session on her virgin, dark hair that the strand test determined was a lie. Said she could do it herself at home. Turned hair orange instead. Came back to get a color correction, and after explaining why she couldn't have blonde, she said she'd settle for anything but orange and lighter than the dark. Gets a beautiful chocolate caramel color and cries because it's not blonde and too expensive. And also leaves no tip. -5 stars. Not worth my time. You must have met my mom. She was going through a rough time post-divorce. Had done a home bleaching, alternating sometimes with the cheapest hair bleach at the cheapest stylist she could get to cover her grays for several months. Decided she wanted to go brunette once. My sister, in cosmetology school, said don't use the natural hair color you bought. It will turn your hair orange. Guess what? Emergency trip to the stylist after that for Mom Old MacDonald. I'm sure it wasn't cheap that time. A guy, had this happen to me when I was about 16 and a goth. I'd grown my hair out and cut it into a sort of floppy mohawk. Dyed it blue-black and then for some reason decided I wanted it lighter. Turned out bright orange, and not in a good way. Orange is not the color of the goth. Eventually, after rushing downtown really early and desperately hoping not to be seen by anyone I knew, another couple of experiments left it a mixture of colors from black through to white. Then it turned into dreads. I thought I looked cool as frick, but I probably looked a right knob. Ho hum. Orange is not the color of the goth, maybe the best thing I will read today. Came in, ordered, ate their food in silence, left minimal mess and a reasonable tip, then buggered off. My perfect customer. 5 stars. This is my husband and I when we have a night out. Lol. We are usually too tired from the week and all our other obligations to be very exciting dinners. So we sit there quietly and send memes to each other, then get dessert to go. Edit due to 2. True love. The lady who yelled at me on the second day of my first job over the price of milk can have a solid 1 star. Christ, could you not? I used to work in a supermarket. Frick, the aisles are too close, too far away from each other. I don't like your trolleys. Change them. Sometimes I can't find what I'm looking for. Are you real manager? I don't like your eggs. Any of them. Have you spoken to the farmers yet? Where is your manager? I am the manager. No, the real manager. What's wrong with your apples? How come when I buy the same product from you only competition? It tastes better. That's flour. I know it is, but my food tasted better. Stop putting stuff on sale. My kids make me buy them stuff. I don't like the music. Change it. I can't afford Easter eggs in March. Clearly this is your fault. Take them off the shelf of all the stores in the country. I can relate. The worst was when we had a suggestion board for people to write on. We had to end it when someone decided naked staff was an appropriate suggestion for a fruit and vegetable grocer. Transfer your younger staff to a different department and hire greater than 50-year-old slightly overweight folks and give the people what they want. Stupid C-word kept trying to order a cheeseburger without cheese even though I was trying to save her money by suggesting to instead order a hamburger. Fast forward 30 seconds and she paid for the cost of a cheeseburger, but without the cheese. I hope she choked on it. 1 star. I've heard this kind of thing happening a lot. What goes through people's heads when they do this kind of stupid? If I had to guess, they might think ordering that way means the burger has to be freshly made. They can't just toss you a hamburger from under the heat lamps, since those are all in the hamburger wrapping, not the cheeseburger wrapping. Everything was cooked to order. That's what the shadowy burger cabal wants us to believe. Welcome to the Big Burger, home of the Big Burger. Can I take your water supply? Very polite but also incredibly awkward for some reason. Saying thank you 5 times when the waiter sets down their drink. Waiting 20 minutes to pay because the waiter looks busy. If that's what you meant, I'm your customer. Same, but I also worry that if I wait too long for the check I'll be depriving some hungry customer a place to sit and eat. But I really don't want to bother the waiter if they look busy. It's a vicious cycle. Her kids dropped the popcorn, so she asked me for a broom to let them clean it up themselves. I said it wasn't necessary, but she insisted that she wanted to raise them to be conscious of the fact that when they make a mess someone has to clean it up. Nice lady. 5/5. I thought the lady was going to end up going nuts for not getting the broom. But this actually turned out really wholesome. I wish the people that came to my restaurant could teach their kids like this. Makes me think of the Black Mirror episode where everyone has a social score and others can see it. Pig sex episode was my favorite part of watching that show. It sucks because it's nearly what I want, horror with social commentary through psychological rather than gore. It sucks because that show is generally as subtle as a sledgehammer to the balls. So the thinking is removed and makes it not so good, in my opinion. Came on opening weekend of one of the biggest movies of the year 5 minutes before the showtime and then was shocked they'd have to stand in line for their concessions. Then complained to management that they missed their movie. Like, what did they think was going to happen? Like we'd have a reserved place in line for them because of their obvious VIP status as king. Douchelord of Asland, quote, brought infant to rated R movie, then complained that it was too scary, and demanded a refund. 0 stars. Wish I could give 0 stars. Brought their 11 and 13-year-old to see Step Brothers, and despite being told several times during the ticket buying process that it was a rated R movie and not appropriate for children, argued that it couldn't be that bad. Then after the scene where Will Ferrell puts his balls on the drum set, suddenly it becomes disgusting and awful movie. How could you sell us tickets to that? Real events inspired this post. A customer walked in the front door of my very closed, curbside-only pub today and asked if we had any steak. He had to ignore a giant sign saying, "Please stay outside, we will bring your phone, online order out to you." 0 out of 5 stars. I almost had a rage stroke. Edited to add, this is the second time he's done it. One of the regulars at the DQ did this too. The doors were locked but her try every day. Found out he had dementia. If it's an older man, he may have an excuse. Even if he doesn't know, can't remember. I used to be a case manager for Airbnb and was regularly asked to audit reviews for violations of TOS. My favorite one, that I had to leave out by the way, was Greg and his wife were a lovely couple. Would love to host them again. 5 stars. Greg wanted the review taken down. His wife WASNT on the trip. Flush. Guy comes in the middle of the festival, no reservation, by car, and blames me because it took him 2 hours to go the entrance of the city to my hotel because there are 200,000 people walking around the streets, and police barrages to help the flow of pedestrians. Then he blames me again because he did all of this for nothing because we're full. What did he think would happen? Walking in with no reservation during the city's largest festival. 1 star. Would not recommend. Chap comes into the packed restaurant on Mother's Day. He's mad as hell because various local roads are shut and it took him an hour to get here, instead of 10 minutes. Does not have a reservation. Has his whole family with him. His wife breaks down in tears while he's yelling at me for not posting on Facebook that we are full for lunch. I get the wife and his mother a gin while he rings restaurants to get a table. They finally leave and the wife hands me a tip. I believe they ended up waiting for a table in Nando's. 0 stars for him, 3 stars for the wife. I just wish the lady that cuts my hair would discreetly tell me if I'm a good tipper or not. Edit. While I'm at it, how much goes on the tip line of a takeout receipt? I'm just making that crap up as I go. Totally not ready for reverse Yelp. You are the type of person who would do well on reverse Yelp. She practically drinks all the salsa and I keep having to give her refills. Her chip to salsa ratio is seriously questionable. Otherwise, she's nice enough. Edit. I misread the question. I thought it asked what review would someone leave of me. I am the salsa lover. This girl was clearly having a bad day. She seemed really angry and upset. I tried my best to help, but there wasn't much I could do. I took her order, served her as usual. She got a call and walked out of the restaurant. I went to the table and found a $50 bill and a sweet little note about how her husband died. And she really appreciates my patience. 5 stars. Best customer. Drunken fool tried to return half bottle of booze because it tastes off. Watch him get in his car, and promptly called police to report drunken driver. That's what I did when I worked retail. You were nice. I'd bend over backwards for you. If you were in butthole, I would do the absolute bare minimum. But then, I was fortunate that my retail job was just extra cash and I didn't really need it. I had the good luck to be the next person in line after a giant raging butthole, waiting to get on an overbooked flight on standby. Lady at the desk told him she was sorry. There were no seats. He'd have to take the morning flight. He swore at her and stormed off. I said, guess there's no seats left. Huh? She looked around to make sure he was gone. Actually, there's one left in first class. All yours. Have a nice flight. I was flying an emergency to try to get home before a family member's death. The guy in front of me was flying standby, and it was a busy summer holiday time here in Japan. They told him they didn't have a seat available on that flight. He, in very non-Japanese fashion, just lost his crap at the ladies and stormed off saying he'd be back to speak to them. It was implied that he meant speak to a man. If another airline didn't accommodate him, then I come up, barely speaking Japanese decently and puffy-eyed from crying on the train ride there. And the ladies were so nice when I asked where the next soonest flight would be available to get to Korea and then Chicago. They all understood, and said they could fit me in, and even accepted my wad of cash for payment. Usually they don't do cash at the check-in counter. Found me a reduced rate, saving me like $500 on the ticket. Looked up my frequent flyer number under my husband's name and added me so I'd accrue enough miles for basically a free flight back to Japan, and managed to get me on the next flight and rushed me through security to get me in the plane in time. Just carry-ins. Literally a pair of underwear and socks and my laptop and phone. I ran from the house with nothing. When I got the call from my mom that it was near the end. If I had missed that flight, I would have been 2 days later. Night layover in Seoul, then morning to Chicago. If that one didn't work, I'd have had to waste a day and a half in Seoul before the next flight to the US. They were so kind, and even wrote a note for me to give to the stewardess on my next flight about what was going on, so I got priority boarding. I didn't get their names, but when I returned to Japan, I asked to talk to someone from Korean Air and said that those women made a terrible flight just wonderful and to thank them for me. I got an "I'm sorry for your loss" card in the mail from Korean Air and them a few weeks later. I still have it with mementos from my grandfather's funeral. I don't know why I had to share. I just did. They were so wonderful, and I think half of it was crying foreigner, and the other half was the total butthole of a guy before me that seemed like he was trying to make them cry. Edit. Context. Threw a drink at my lead. 0 tenths get fricked sideways with a Palax you fricking afterbirth. I've talked about this idea many times. It would be so magical. I greeted the table and they didn't even look at me. They just said water. So I get their waters and their food order, which was difficult because they asked a million questions that could have been answered by reading the menu. That's what it's there for. Then when I'm trying to deliver the food, no one was paying attention and they couldn't remember what they even ordered. They were just overall kind of rude and annoying, but they left 18%, so that's better than what I thought they were going to leave. 3/5 stars. Can't really recommend. Literally hunkered down in the basement with the gunman upstairs. Detectives on the phone. Another pregnant, crying customer and all the staff. And this donkey still had the nerve to ask if his watch was done being repaired before the first shot rang out. Then proceeded to scream at the detectives that this was a huge inconvenience. He had clients waiting at court, and needed this to be over with. Thanks for watching LWIAR 2. The best of all time r/AskReddit submissions and comments. If you like this video, check out the original LWIAR channel. And don't forget to like and subscribe.